Okay, so are you ready to jump into this whole Samsung versus Apple thing?
Always ready for a good tech showdown.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got this like almost debate from the Bite Me podcast,
Right.
which if you haven't listened to it, it's
Yeah.
this fictional podcast where
Yeah.
they pit like two companies against each other
Yeah, yeah.
and they kind of duke it out.
I love how they frame that as like a boxing match almost.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
But it's obviously fictional. Like
Right.
they have writers, they're,
Of course.
creating these arguments for them.
Right.
What's so interesting about it is you really get to see like, okay, when push comes to shove, how are these companies actually positioning themselves in the market?
Totally. And I think what's fascinating is how they're trying to win you over,
Yeah.
right? Like not through specs and figures, but through their whole philosophy,
Absolutely. And I feel like right off the bat, like the first thing that
Yeah.
Samsung kind of throws down on the table is like, we've got it all.
Yeah.
We have all the features, all the
Everything you could ever want.
foldable phones, crazy camera tech. Like they are that
Right.
friend who brings a mountain of snacks to a party and you're just like, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And they even call themselves the tech buffet.
Yeah. It's a good analogy, right?
It is a good analogy.
Because it's like, oh, you want that? We got it. You want this? We got that too.
Exactly.
Just pile it on.
But is that what people want?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right.
Because it's clever,
Mm.
Because on the surface, more choices. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love options? But there's this whole psychological thing with decision fatigue.
Right?
And studies have actually shown that while we think endless options means more freedom, sometimes having like a curated selection
Yes.
actually leads to higher satisfaction in the end.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's that whole like analysis paralysis thing, right? Where you have too many choices and you end up just doing nothing.
Exactly. You're just overwhelmed. You're paralyzed.
Exactly.
And you end up not even enjoying what you potentially could have enjoyed if you had just had fewer options.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Samsung's more is more isn't always the winning strategy.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Because then Apple very clearly comes in with their classic
Okay, a classic counter to that.
refinement over revolution.
Yes.
It's all about that smooth user experience, that signature Apple aesthetic. They're like, we are the exclusive,
Right.
prefix menu, and we're not even going to give you a choice.
Yeah.
You're just getting this
Take it or leave it.
exactly, and you're going to like it.
And you're going to like it. And for a lot of people, that works.
Right.
Right. Especially if you're already kind of in the Apple universe.
Yeah.
It taps into that desire for simplicity, a sense of someone else take the wheel, I trust you.
It's like that brand loyalty that they've cultivated so well.
Exactly.
Which Samsung actually even pokes fun at
Yeah.
in the podcast a little bit.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you poor Apple users.
Trapped in their walled garden.
You're trapped. Yeah.
In this walled garden.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that, though? Or is that just like,
I mean, it's definitely part of the rivalry, right? Like that
Yeah.
playful jabbing back and forth. But I think it's worth unpacking what that walled garden actually means. So when we talk about Apple's ecosystem, we're talking about how tightly integrated their devices are, their software, their services. It's all very, very interconnected. It's like a luxury resort, right? Everything's connected. It all looks very pretty, very streamlined.
But you can't leave.
But you're kind of stuck with their offerings. So it's like you're on their cruise ship.
Right.
You can enjoy the open sea,
Yeah.
but you're still on their ship.
If you're on their ship, you're playing by their rules.
Exactly.
Right.
And Apple argues that this closed ecosystem is what allows them to provide top-notch security.
And that seamless performance, which is true.
Right.
To a large extent. But Samsung's not wrong to point out that it limits your choices.
Right.
If you want to venture outside of that Apple ecosystem, it gets a little trickier.
It's kind of like choosing between having a curated playlist that someone made for you, which could be amazing, or having access to the entire music library where it's like,
Right, exactly.
oh my gosh,
Decision fatigue again?
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, yeah.
Both have their pluses and their minuses.
Absolutely. And that brings us to, I think, a key difference in their approach to innovation, which plays out in this debate,
Okay.
which is, Samsung is very proud of these bending phones.
Oh, yeah. Of course they are.
The foldable phones.
Yeah.
They were like, look at this.
The future is here.
This is the future.
Yeah. But are they, though? Are foldable screens just a flashy gimmick?
It's so early to say.
Okay.
Technologically, what Samsung achieved is very impressive.
Okay.
They had to overcome some major hurdles with screen durability.
Yeah. Because they
It's-
break.
How do you make a hinge that can withstand constantly folding
Right.
thousands and thousands of folds?
Yeah.
So the technology is there, but it's still a very niche market,
Okay.
at least for now.
So we'll see if it
Yeah.
catches on. Whereas Apple is like, well, look at our track record.
Right.
We brought you touch screens.
We brought you the App Store.
We've been here. We've done this.
We revolutionized the industry.
Are they resting on their laurels, though? Or is there some wisdom in that kind of slow and steady approach?
That's a good question. Because it gets to the heart of what meaningful innovation even means.
Right.
Right. Is it about pushing technology just for the sake of it?
Just because you can.
Yeah. Or is it about actually solving problems that people have?
Right.
And sometimes those things go hand in hand.
Right.
But sometimes they don't.
Yeah. And does it actually make our lives better?
Right. Because that's the key thing, right?
Right.
Like, I don't care if my phone can, like, fold into a paper airplane if it doesn't actually improve my day-to-day.
Exactly. But I guess that kind of brings us to
Right.
what happens after you buy the darn thing,
Okay.
the customer service aspect.
Customer service.
Because Samsung makes a big deal about how
Yeah.
they've got your back 24/7.
Yeah, they're like your tech best friend.
Right. They're there for you.
Always on speed dial.
Always there to answer the phone at 3 a.m. when your phone's freaking out.
Exactly when you need them.
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course,
Right.
they don't miss the chance to, like, throw a little shade at Apple's Genius Bar.
Right. Are they geniuses or
Yeah.
is it just marketing?
The Genius Bar, it's very good branding,
It is good branding.
right? Like, you walk in and you feel like you're entering, like, a library of knowledge.
Right. You're like,
Well, yeah.
oh, these people in their blue shirts, they know
They've got all the answers.
what's up.
Right? But in reality, any huge company, you're going to have inconsistencies,
Of course.
right? It depends on the location, how busy they are, the specific staff.
Right.
You might get lucky and have a truly genius experience.
Right.
Or you might walk away feeling
And
like,
you've been genius.
like you've been gypped.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
So really it comes down to like, what's your priority?
Right.
Do you want just like a quick answer, even if it's from like a
Yeah.
script reader on the phone?
Right.
Or are you cool with like,
Making an appointment.
yeah, or going
sounds
in
right.
lawn
Right. Exactly.
and like having that face-to-face interaction?
And let's not forget the power of the internet here.
Oh, that's true.
Because online forums and communities
Oh my God, yes.
can be absolute gold mines
Right,
for troubleshooting
for sure.
and getting advice from other users who have been there.
So many times.
Oh, that.
Right? It's like the blind leading the blind, but sometimes it works out.
Sometimes it does.
You're like, I found the one person who had this very specific problem and they figured it out.
And they're willing to share that knowledge.
I know.
Yeah,
But it's interesting, though, how like their approaches to customer service, I feel like really mirror
totally.
their whole like brand philosophy.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's like that accessibility versus that premium controlled experience.
Amazon's like, we're your buddy.
Right.
We're here for you.
Call us anytime.
Apple's like,
Yeah.
make an appointment. We'll see you when we see you.
We'll see you when we see you. And it'll be on our terms.
Exactly.
And it'll be beautiful and sleek,
Right.
just like our product.
Exactly. And that is even more apparent when we get into the ecosystem thing.
Right, because that's another big one
Right.
in the debate.
Right. Because Apple loves to tout
Oh, yeah.
their whole like, oh, it just works.
Seamless.
Everything works together so seamlessly.
You can start an email on your phone,
Yeah.
finish it on your laptop. It's all magical.
But like, break it down for me.
Right.
How does that actually like benefit me in my actual life?
So let's say you're working on a presentation with some colleagues,
Okay.
right? You've all got your Apple devices. You can share files instantly
Okay.
using AirDrop.
Right.
You're editing a video. You can seamlessly move your work between your iPhone, your iPad, your MacBook. It's all about making those everyday tasks smoother, more efficient.
Okay. So it's like that convenience factor.
Exactly.
It's easier.
It just works.
Right. Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Right.
Right. But Samsung would argue that that comes at a cost.
At the cost of
Uh-huh.
being stuck in their walled garden.
Because you are stuck.
Right.
You can't really go outside of that very easily. Right. It's like you're staying at a fancy hotel. They've got everything you need.
Right.
But maybe you can't order takeout from that amazing local restaurant down the street.
Oh, I like that analogy.
I know.
It's like you're stuck with the room service menu,
Yeah, exactly.
which could be great,
Right.
but it might not have everything you want.
Exactly. And that's the trade-off.
Right.
On one hand, that closed ecosystem allows Apple to really control the security aspect
Right.
and ensure that level of performance across their devices.
Right.
But on the other hand,
You're limited
you are limited.
in what you can do.
Yeah.
And that is the question.
And that question, my friend, is the crux of the Samsung-Apple rivalry.
I know, right? It really is like, what do you prioritize?
Yeah. Which side are you on?
Team open ecosystem
Yeah.
or team walled garden?
Exactly. And I think this debate really highlights
Right.
how different those philosophies are.
Because even just the tone
Right.
of how they're like arguing their points,
Yeah.
Samsung is very much like, we're the fun friend.
Right.
We're approachable.
More playful.
We're going to make fun of those guys a little bit.
A little bit of shade never hurt,
Right.
especially in the tech world. Right.
Right. They're like, ooh, iPhone slowing down.
Huh.
That sounds familiar. Right.
Maybe a little bit too familiar
Right.
for some users out there.
Right. Or like that whole like selling you the charger
I
separately.
like it right in the name of sustainability.
Right.
Right.
Are they saving the planet or?
It's a good marketing tactic, though. You got to give them that.
It is.
Right.
It's very clever.
Because they're tapping into this idea
Of like consumer frustration.
that we all secretly have.
That we all secretly
Yeah.
have, even if it's based on rumors or.
Right. Or it's blown out of proportion.
Or maybe our old phones really were slowing down.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
But it's definitely a bold move
It is bold.
because it could backfire
Right.
if it comes across as petty or mean-spirited.
Right.
So they're walking a fine line.
They are. But you got to hand it to Apple, though.
Yeah.
They always seem to come out on top.
They know how to handle a PR crisis.
Right.
Remember Antennagate,
Bendgate.
Bengate? They always seem to land on their feet.
They do. It's like
It's impressive.
they've got this force field.
They do. It's the power of a strong brand, right?
Right.
People are willing to give them the benefit of the doubt,
For sure.
even when there are valid concerns. Totally. It's like they could tell me the sky is green, and I'd be like,
Really.
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Right. But let's be real.
Right.
Samsung has made some seriously impressive moves lately.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Like phones are beautiful.
They are
The cameras are top-notch,
amazing.
and they are pushing those technological boundaries, no doubt.
They are. And even like little things
Yeah.
like bringing back the headphone jack
Oh, yeah. Some models have it back,
on some models.
which is huge for some people.
Which is like, I feel like they're listening
Right.
to what people want.
They're paying attention
Right.
to those customer complaints and desires.
Which I think is huge.
Yeah, you want to feel heard, right,
Yeah,
by the companies whose products you're using every day.
exactly. And isn't that what it really comes down to?
I think so.
Like finding the tech that fits your life.
Yeah.
Your needs.
That's it.
Your budget.
Because that's a whole other thing.
Right.
We didn't even get into the pricing.
We didn't even get into pricing.
Like,
That's a whole
literally.
another episode.
Right.
Another day.
Big
But
deal.
whether you're like Team Apple or Team Samsung,
Right.
they both have shaped the tech landscape
Oh, absolutely.
that we use every single day.
They're the titans
They are.
for a reason.
So next time you're faced with that like age-old question,
Yeah.
Samsung or Apple,
Right.
just remember,
There's no right answer.
there's no one right answer.
It's about what resonates with you.
What do you value?
Exactly.
What kind of experience are you looking for?
Exactly. And that is it for this deep dive into Samsung versus Apple.
We covered a lot of ground,
We did.
but ultimately the choice is yours.
The choice is yours.
Go forth and be tech-savvy consumers.
Yes, explore your options, question everything, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Have fun out there.
This has been The Deep Dive, signing off.